Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Bear Facts Friday, July 10th, 2020. Hope everyone has had a great week and enjoyed their 4th of July last Saturday. Once again, I'm going to run through and try to filter out the information from the week. Lisa is going to drop some wisdom and some knowledge, and Mark is going to give you some perspective, help put things in perspective for you. So this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about jobless rates and compare them to the rates of the Great Depression and even what was considered the Great Recession. So you see as high as 25% unemployment in the Great Depression, and right now we're as high as 14%, 14.7, as unemployment has now dipped to 11.1, which is still higher than it ever was during the Great Recession. And as long as we can have a trajectory of getting people back to work and moving towards full employment, which is really about 4% or something around those lines, we can kind of weather the storm and minimize the economic impact to the country that we've had. And so at least we're seeing unemployment is still incredibly high, but it's going down and moving in the right direction. And knock on wood, hopefully it continues to do so.
All right, this week for perspective, I want to talk about the idea of stock picking because we generally get a decent amount of questions, and I feel like they've maybe ticked up a little bit lately, but about the idea of maybe I'm looking to buy a stock, should I, shouldn't I, or maybe I already own a stock, and now what should I do, or even beyond that is I used to own it and I sold it, and now I feel like I should have bought it back. And so I cherry picked this example of Tesla because that seems to be one of the hottest names lately over the last few months, and for very good reason. And just looking at the stock price of Tesla back in July of 2015, you can see it was $259 a share. And fast forward 4 years to July of last year, it was $230 a share. So that would be a drop of about 11% over that time period. And depending on when you would have gotten in or out during that time period, you might have made money, you might have lost even more money, who knows? But if we look at July of last year compared to today, you'd have been up over 500% just in that 12 months. That's amazing. Everybody would like to do that. But the question becomes, well, when do I choose to buy a stock, to hold on to it, to sell it, to get back in? All of those things that really come along with the process and decisions to buy individual securities. And it's just that. It's very difficult from a psychological perspective because you have to make those decisions constantly. It's not just a one-time thing. You've got to be right on multiple instances. And that becomes very, very difficult and very challenging for the investor. And then there's often a bit of regret or remorse or a coulda, shoulda, woulda mentality afterwards. Well, I sold it too soon and then the stock took up. Now I should buy it back. It's almost akin to something that Kenny had mentioned, which I thought was a great example. If you're playing the lottery, it would be like sitting there and second guessing yourself after you see the Powerball numbers revealed on the news at night and saying, well, I should have picked these numbers, then I would have won the Powerball, right? It's that hindsight bias that can get in the way of allowing us to make good decisions, especially when you're talking about owning individual securities. So something to be mindful of is that there isn't the crystal ball, and the coulda, shoulda, woulda game can be very taxing on you as the investor. And thinking of it as knowing the Powerball numbers before the Powerball even happens, that might help you get a better sense of how you'd be playing that game.
Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody has been so caught up with COVID and where to find face masks, where do I wear them? Is it safe to see family? Is it safe to travel? Can I go out to eat? How do I go through the drive-through? That I'm getting a sense from at least some of my friends that they've forgotten about a little thing that is due to the IRS in a couple of days. We benefited from the IRS extending or delaying the filing of all federal tax returns. of any kind that were due between the dates of April 1st and July 15th. Everything is now due on July 15th, and that includes any estimated tax payments that you might have owed for April 15th or June 15th. So I'm getting a lot of questions about 1099s. There's some scrambling looking for Form 1099s out there right now. If you are one of those who are in the last crunch of putting together your 2019 tax return and don't feel like you have all the information, if you're one of our clients, give us a call. We can certainly see what we can do to pull up some of your accounts that you have with us and get that information for you. And if you don't think you're going to make that July 15th deadline, you do have the availability to file an extension, but that's only for filing your tax return. Any money that you may owe with that return or any of your estimated tax payments for 2020 are still due on July 15th. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but July 15th is a hard date for all of those payments. So again, if you haven't quite gotten everything done and you need some help on some of your 1099s, please give us a call.
All right. And though the deadline did get extended, I feel like it's crept up on us again this year, as it does every year. So that's a great reminder, as we're under a week now. So that's what we've got for you this week for Fairfax Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see you next week.